Today we will talk about EEPROMs and EEPROM PICs. They come in thousands of forms and hundreds of brand names. They are architected to consist of a matrix of memory cells, each capable of storing a bit of data, either a 1 or a 0. These cells are organised in columns. EEPROMs are a type of integrated circuit, an IC, used for non-volatile memory, meaning they retain data even when the power is off. They are commonly found in microcontrollers, embedded systems, and remote keyless systems. EEPROM stands for Electrically Erasable Programmable Read-Only Memory. They are used to store calibration data, configuration settings, and program code that needs to be retained even when the device is powered off. To write data to an EEPROM, electrical signals are applied to the memory cells, altering their state. This programming typically uses a higher than normal voltage, which changes the charge on a floating gate transistor inside the memory cell. The charge represents the binary data. It'll be either a 0 or a 1. For example, the PlayStation gaming console could be modified with an EEPROM PIC. The microchip PIC 12C508A or the PIC 12C509 was such an EEPROM. The Advantech LABTOOL 48, which is pictured, is a universal EEPROM and chipset programmer. This programmer can program over 2,000 different types of EEPROMs and chipsets, and chipsets with up to 48 pins or 48 legs. It allows for no mistakes. Here we will identify the PIC 12C508A and calibrate its properties. Once found, we will check the voltage properties are correct. We will load the data, which is a simple security algorithm. We will check if the mod chip is blank. We will check if the mod chip is serviceable. We will identify if the mod chip is faulty. We will program the mod chip with the positively included algorithm. Many of us remember the original PlayStation gaming console. It was released in late 1993, early 1994. It was very basic by comparison to today's consoles. The games were digitally released on a compact disc. The disc was placed in the console and the game began. The console had a laser to play the game. The laser also checked if the game was an original copy, and then only then it would play. However, to get around this, to understand a compact disc is simply a round base of plastic for the structure and its protection. Then a layer of alfoil where the data is implemented, stamped or burnt on. The data starts from the centre and makes its way to outside the disc as more data is added. A compact disc burnt from home contains a veggie type oil between the foil and the plastic to embed or burn the data into the foil. This eventually eats away the data. The problem with burning a PlayStation game is that the original games came with a black plastic protective cover. The reason it came with a black cover was that between the plastic and the foil was a fingerprint identification. In layman's terms, it had a small black square patch, a small black round patch, and a small black triangle patch stamped over the foil. The game data was implemented around these identification points. The laser would look at this fingerprint, and if it was present, it would play the game. In the event of a copied game, the fingerprint is absent. When a mod chip is installed and the message came through that there was no fingerprint, the mod chip would simply cut off the signal, that is, not original, and send information going to the security chip and pass the algorithm that the game's fingerprint was there and present. The Australian copyright law came out in 1968. It protected general media. Because the laws are behind progress, the Digital Amendment Law did not suffice until 2006, when the Copyright Amendment Act made it illegal in Australia to circumvent technical issues to restrict to their works. It followed on from the United States and their Digital Millennium Copyright Act, although by now the PlayStation was 12 years old. However, the mod chip in this video shows the chip accessing the 3.3 volts area. It's needed from the motherboard. That's the top right leg. Going to the negative, or the earth, which is the top left leg. At the bottom, on the right hand side, legs, is where it stopped the data from getting to the security chip and implements its own data. You know, the biggest takeaway for me was how it was so addictive to understand, learn and educate yourself. Although, when monetarized, this chip created greed for both suppliers and consumers. It's ironic how you could have the largest collection of games in a library, but at the end of the day, 99% of consumers only ever played maybe their favourite 3 games. This particular PlayStation version, I believe, is the 9002. From memory, it is the 4th version of the PlayStation 1 family out of maybe 8. Later, different methods and types of mod chips evolved. The PlayStation 2 could be adapted to use a USB mod chip. Extra diodes were added, and eventually it needed cooling down. PlayStation continued to improve their protection. Security continually evolved. They included anti-piracy software to their games. They looked for hints on the motherboard if power was being hijacked from a mod chip. They networked their gaming consoles to the internet to induce feedback and check for a primarily represented MAC address, that is, Media Access Control Address. A unique 12-digit hexadecimal string assigned to the console's network interface. They could police this much better. You could also perform a soft mod on the chipset as an alternative. Program the chipset that was already on the motherboard. That is, it did not need additional hardware to change the device's behavior. Here we see a few alternatives and the complexity it involved. Next episode, we will look at smart cards, their operation, their connection to EEPROMs and chipsets. See ya in the next one. What they do.